Hello, friends. Hello, friends, and welcome to this revision class of Commerce and Accountancy. This is a very small attempt in order to help you out in your preparation for UPSC, and we are covering here Commerce and Accountancy subject completely. So you all know there are two papers, paper 1, paper 2. Paper 1 is more of practical one and paper 2 is more of theoretical one. Paper 2 have four papers, that is organizational theory, organizational behavior, industrial relations and human resource management. So today what we are going to cover is organizational behavior. Our attempt is to revise the complete syllabus in few videos. So we'll be trying to cover each and everything as prescribed by UPSC. So here is just the syllabus as prescribed by UPSC for the Commerce and Accountancy OB section, and these are all the topics. We'll be covering all these topics here. So let's start with the first chapter, that is the meaning and concept of organizational behavior, the introduction of organizational behavior. Okay, so when I talk about organizational behavior, then the first question is, what is organization? Organization here, it is group of individuals, but just group of individuals does not suffice. It actually does not satisfy the definition of organization. When I talk about organization, there is something that comes to my mind, that is goal. So actually, any people who are talking on street, they do not form an organization. A kitty party does not form an organization. What for organization, what we need goal oriented human groupings. An organization has to have some formal setup, particularly for the purpose of the study of organizational behavior and organizational theory. When we talk about these concepts, then we take some formal setup. They always, informal and formal, will discuss about these things. Right now, what we need to understand is, organization is actually summation of people who are oriented towards a common goal. That's it. That's a very simple thing. Now, there are various definitions given by different thinkers like Bernard, Wheeler, Kunz O'Donnell, and Simon. You will remember these names in some times, because we'll be using these names again and again. First of all, Bernard. Let us understand what is organization. Bernard says that organization is a system. What does system means? System is anything that has got some input, process, and then output. So organization is a systematic concept. It has got certain inputs, that can be man, money, material, machine, etc. And then process, that means the functioning, the coordination and staffing, recruitment, etc. That is process. And outcome, that means result, the goal, mission, vision, etc. So organization is actually a system. System of what? Consciously coordinated. It has to be conscious. It cannot be unconscious. It cannot be unintentional. Coordinated activities, we are not talking about individual activities, we are talking about coordinated, integrated activities or forces of two or more persons. Obviously one person cannot form an organization, so it is two or more persons. Wheeler says that it is structural framework of duties and responsibilities. That means authority and responsibility. It is more about structure of the organization. Kunz O'Donnell, this is a very interesting definition. He talks about process, organization as a process, and he also answers another question, that explain the process of organization. It is simple that whenever you go to establish an organization, what is there? You determine the goal, you determine the objectives, and then you identify the activities. You group those activities, and then you create jobs. You assign those jobs, then you coordinate them, communicate them, control them, etc., etc. The same thing, very simple one. Simon says that organization is a structure of decision makers. It is such a brief definition, but it is very important, and it is very interesting. Like when you talk about decision makers, it covers structure in it, because when we talk about decision makers, it involves in it the factor of authority, responsibility, duty, etc. So it is a very structural definition. So it covers the structural aspect of organization, that is, organization is a structure of decision maker. And when talk about decision making, it also leads to objectivity. Okay, so we know what is organization. It is a goal oriented human grouping in very simple terms. Now then, the next question, what is organizational behavior? Let's move on to the next question, organizational behavior. So when we talk about organizational behavior, then organizational behavior, though whatever we study in this, whether we study organizational theory or organizational behavior, one thing you should always remember, that there are certain thinkers. There are many thinkers in for OB and OT as well, who has given various theories on the basis of which we analyze things, we understand things, we conclude, etc., etc. So those thinkers are mainly, they are actually classified into three, or we can say grouped into three. One are classical thinkers. Classical thinkers are those people who do not believe in human beings. They believe more in processes and structures. These are the people who say that a man is a rational economic man. That means he is a money-minded person. He does not like innovation. He does not like responsibility, and he needs to be supervised. He needs to be standard. Needs to be specified the task or roles that he has to perform, etc. That means an old approach to treat humans. Then obviously that did not work for long term, although they provided us various insight into organization, but it did not work for long term because you cannot ignore the human element in organization. So there came up another school of thought, that was behavioral science. Behavioral science, they focused on interpersonal relations, behavioral relations, social relations. Like we had thinkers like Elton Mayo, who performed the Hawthorne experiment, where he concluded that how social relations have impact on all individuals, human beings, their decision making, etc. Chester Bernard, who said, why do people behave in the manner they behave, why do they decide in the manner they decide, etc. Then we had modern thinkers who said that not only behavior does determine things, but also the environment. They say that situation is supreme. They say that there is a law of situation. They say that the situation and the environmental factors has a crucial role to play in decision making, in behavior of particular individual, and hence it changes the impact in the organization. So it is simply that the focus of the three school of thoughts are different. We will deal with this in detail later on. Now, one thing you should remember, that all these three things, that whether classical, whether behavioral, whether modern, they strive to achieve organizational effectiveness, because ultimate goal of any organization is organizational effectiveness. Okay, so these are these are various school of thoughts. Now come on to organizational behavior, a branch of organizational theory. We'll deal with organizational theory, don't worry. What is organizational behavior? As the name suggests, it is behavior in organization. Whose behavior? Organization is group of individuals, so it is behavior of individuals in organization. Simple. So what it is? It is study of organization, its individuals or its people, and their behavior and their management. This is very important. You cannot just understand and analyze their behavior and leave them. We want results. So for organizational effectiveness, we need to influence their behavior. We need to change their behavior as per our requirements. So when I go on to describe organizational behavior or define organizational behavior, I am reminded of a definition of Fred Lutyens. Fred Lutyens, he defined organization behavior as a management management task or managerial task, as a managerial task of UPM of individuals in organization. What is this UPM? This is very strange. UPM. Let me tell you. UPM is, U stands for understanding, P for prediction, and M for management. That means organizational behavior is a managerial task of understanding, predicting, and managing the individuals, behavior of individuals. What? Behavior of individuals. UPM of behavior of individuals in organization. Okay, fine. Done. It is simple OPM of behavior of individuals in the organization. So you know what is OB now. You have learned the definition. We can also say that OB is a pie. It's a pie. It's a beautiful, delicious pie. What pie? Why? It's prediction, analysis, and influencing human behavior. It is in order to predict, analyze, and influence human behavior. Influence means change, it means control, it means management, any word you can use. You can also call it as UPC. Like we are very familiar with UPSC, so you can call it UPC. Very simple, na? Understanding, predicting, and controlling the human behavior in organization. So simple. Okay, so OUP actually OB tells us why do people behave in the manner they behave and how can we change it. And this is the question whose answer we try to find everywhere in OB. So whatever you study in OB, apply this. Okay, how do this impact the behavior and how can we change it? These things. Okay, now OB is also very important understanding the cause effect relationship. It is a fact that every behavior is caused. No behavior can be causeless. Whatever manner a person behave, there is a cause behind it. So your OB helps us in understanding the cause behind the behavior of individual. What are the causes? Causes can be personal causes, can be organizational causes, can be situational causes. Then human behavior, it may be desirable, it may be undesirable. Then the impact can be positive or it can be negative. So what the OB aims to achieve? It aims to achieve to control these causes in order to convert the undesirable human behavior into desirable human behavior so that we can have positive impact on the organization. And what is that positive impact? That is organizational effectiveness. Okay, fine. You learned about what is OB. Now, levels of study of OB. So, what are the levels of study of OB? We obviously know that OB is actually about individuals. It is about the organization as a whole as well. So, when we talk about organization, I'm reminded of organization is a group. It is a goal-oriented human grouping. Okay. So, when I talk about human grouping, first of all, human element, that is individual. So, OB is studied at three levels. That individual level, when individual come together in a team, group level, then when group come together, then as a whole organization, and then at the organizational level. So at the individual level, what do you study? At the individual level, you actually find you study about the individual's personality, his attitude, his needs, his aspirations, his motivation, and etc. etc. We'll deal with this in detail. Now at group level you study about group dynamics, group roles. Actually, as per the Elton Mayo experiment, Hawthorne experiment, it is actually proved that group has an impact on individual. Besides individuals having a same kind of personality, same kind of attitude, they can behave differently in different groups. So group dynamics do play a great role in defining organizational behavior. So we'll study about group norms, group dynamics, team building, leader group relations, etc. At organization level, obviously groups, they do not work in vacuum, they work in the organizational setup. So organizational setup has an impact on the behavior. So like will structure, culture, process, etc. will have an impact. For example, if you have a culture of zero tolerance, that means no defect is being tolerated, there is perfection required, complete perfection required. So in that case, an employee will be less innovative because he will try to always adhere to the standards so as not to deviate from the quality. Otherwise, he may actually bear the consequences. So zero tolerance approach, it can be considered good in classical times, but in today's times, when we need new technology, when we need new innovations and creativity, then we need to have some flexibility in the working condition so that such kind of innovation is encouraged. So at organization level, how the individual behave, if we'll study this in OB. So OB got three aspects we have learned: individual, group, and organization. Very simple. Next, individuals in organization. This is a very simple thing, and this you can use at any exam, any question. You can use at various questions, in fact, like how organization and individuals are related. So organization is just summation of individuals, goal oriented individuals. So organizational performance is a function of individual performance. So organizational performance, it is actually directly proportional to the performances of the individuals. So organization is a dependent variable on the independent variable, that is individual. So organization is dependent on individual. So organization wants individual to perform well. So here you must learn that if individual is giving some performance to the organization has to give something to the individual. What we call at reciprocity bond. There is interdependence on both the individual and the organization. So there is inducement contribution theory in this case, that organization induces individual to perform something by providing like rewards or economic, social, etc., fulfilling various needs, etc. And individual gives contribution to the organization in the form of performance. So it is a reciprocity between individual and organization, and that should be congruent. Like individual goals must be congruent to the organization goals in order to achieve organization effectiveness. Okay, now how to understand individuals in an organization. This is very important. Earlier, as in the classical times, individuals were considered as rational economic man. A rational economic man is a money-minded person. More economic rewards were more important to it. But nowadays, is the approach has changed. Now, individual is a complex man. So, how to understand individual? First of all, individual, when he comes to organization, he is in multiplicity of role. You cannot just expect individual to perform the organizational role. So you had to create a conducive environment for the individual. For example, when he's coming to your organization, he has role towards society. Like he has role towards his family, he has role towards the informal group he belongs to. He also has role towards the organization, that is the formal role. So in all these role, an individual is trapped. So what you need to do is you have to understand this multiplicity of role, and you have to create such a conducive environment so that the individual can fulfill all these roles by performing his organizational duties. For example, if you are paying good to the individual, you are providing a good socio-economic condition to the individual, good social working environment, then you are fulfilling three roles. You are fulfilling his family role, you are fulfilling his group role, informal group role, because his social his need is being satisfied, etc., etc. So this way you have to understand that individual comes with multiplicity of roles. Secondly, individual differences. No human being is same. Every human being is unique. So you cannot have one fits for all theory. So it's like your whatever you do, whatever technique you use, whatever theory you apply, whatever structure you have, there it should be flexible, tactful, and sensible to the individual differences. Considering the whole person, obviously you cannot just consider one part of a person the way he behaves in the organization, just one thing. You cannot just use one feature of the organization to frame his whole personality. Like it is also known as halo effect and horn effect. Like you are using one ability when it is good, one feature when it is good, then halo, and when it is bad, then horn, in order to frame the whole personality. Like for example, if I say if a person is punctual, then you treat that if he is punctual, then he will always complete his work on time. He will always be loyal to the organization. He will always be good in team effort. And so this is like magnifying. You are just magnifying one and generalizing one particular good habit into the whole personality, which leads to a biased decision making. As well as horn effect, if he is not punctual, then you see that he is not committed and all those things. So rather than on emphasizing one good thing or one bad thing, we need to see the whole package in individual. Then requirement of personal dignity. Obviously every individual, they require their personal dignity. Will study this in Maslow's need hierarchy theory. This dignity, the person, if this violation of dignity is done, then the person will be more discontented, and he'll resort to other means like strike. He will they may they will be weakening of bond between the individual and organization, etc. More attrition, higher attrition rates, etc. Okay, so these kind of factors, they help us to understand the individual. Like what? Like an individual does not come alone to the organization. He has to be considered as a complete whole. He has various multiple roles. He is different in approach. His personal dignity is to be considered, and actually no behavior is causeless. So there is a cause behind every behavior. So this way you have to frame your theory Y approach. Your system 4 will do this in detail later on. So your job has to be customized as per the individual. That means it has to be flexible. There has to be some flexibility in your job design as well as the organizational setup, so that individual fits in correctly. Okay, next comes now we'll talk about organizational behavior. um, Now we'll talk about further organizational behavior, that is some more concepts of organizational behavior. First of all, features of organizational behavior. These are very simple to understand. Let's do it. Very simple. Let's give it just we'll do it very quickly. Features of organizational behavior. Organizational behavior, it is a rational approach. We are talking about some theories, some conclusive theories, is some studies, some analysis. So this is a rational and objective approach. This is not an emotional feeling. Secondly, very important one is young field of study. That is, it is an inexact science. It has been developed in the last century only. It is not a very old science or a very old study or very old discipline. It is a young, so it is evolving. It is both science as well as art. About science and art, I can tell you one thing that I learned in 11th class. That was, art is something that where the perfection is achieved through practice. Art is something where there are no hard and fast rules, where innovation matters, where one line that is very important, perfection comes through practice. And science is something where there is cause and effect relationship, where are the rules and principles to be followed, etc. So OB, there are also rules, there are also theories, there are also studies, and they, as well as the applicability is also very important. It is very subjective as well, depending on the employer who is employing it, as well as the employee on which these theories are applied. Okay. It works at various levels. We have seen individual level, group level, and organizational level. It is a part of management, very obvious. Management is a complete study. That means it deals with all the resources, men, money, material, machine, method, whereas organizational behavior only deals with the human element. Okay. It is goal oriented, obviously. Organization itself is goal oriented. We do not have any organization without a goal, so it is goal oriented. It is interdisciplinary. We will deal with this separately because it is a big concept. Interdisciplinary. It has elements from various disciplines like sociology, psychology, social philosophy, social psychology, and polity, etc., etc. We'll deal with this. Okay. Now, what is basic OB process? Very simple. Just remember one thing. What is OB? UPC. Of whom? Human behavior. In what? In organization. So UPC of human behavior in organization has a process. What is the process? Process is, first of all, you analyze behavior. That means you study behavior, what the person is behaving, what is he doing. That is analyzing behavior. Then you're trying to understand it. Understand means he is behaving in this manner, so what is this, what you can conclude out of this. That means what kind of person he is, etc., etc. Then you're predicting behavior. If he is behaving like this, that means to such stimuli he may behave like that. So you are actually predicting the behavior for future course of action. That means if given a particular stimulus or particular environmental change, the person, on the basis of earlier evidences or earlier incidents, he will behave like this. This is predicting behavior. Then you try to control behavior. You came to know about that. You have analyzed the behavior. You have understood the behavior. You predicted the behavior beforehand. So now you want to control the behavior. Control the behavior in a way so that you can convert the undesirable. You can control or you can convert the undesirable effects of the behavior or aspects of the behavior into desirable one. So you're converting the undesirable outcome into desirable outcome to have a positive impact, that is organizational effectiveness. Having done this, you take the experience out of this. This feedback is being used further to analyze behavior, further to understand, further to predict, and further to control. And then again, experience which is used. So it is a continuous process. It goes on. It is not a one loop, single loop system. It is a continuous one. And then open system, obviously. Why open? Because it is influenced by the environmental factors. This is environmental factor. This is environmental stimuli in whose response a person behave. Okay. This is very simple. Now comes principle of organization behavior. These are very simple actually. Principle of organization behavior are nothing but like they tell us about how to deal with individuals. They tell us about how to understand an individual. So what we have studied about aspects of understanding an individual, that is there only. Like an individual is a whole person, their multiplicity of roles, then individual dignity is very important, then individual differences are there. Then when we talk about individual in terms of organization, then there's a reciprocity thing, there is inducement contribution one, there is also interdependence among individual. We know that organization is a dependent variable on the independent individual. Okay, fine. Yes. So, yes, let me clear one thing. I said that organizational is a dependent variable on independent individual. One more thing you should keep in mind. Now, when we talk about reciprocity, organizational individual are interdependent. Organizational performance is dependent on individual performance. This is true. Organizational performance is dependent on individual performance. Organizational performance is summation of individual performances, but both these individual are independent. Both these things like organization and individual, these are interdependent on each other. They affect each other's behavior, and they has to their goals has to be congruent in order to have organizational effectiveness. Okay. Now, what are the shortcomings or limitations of organizational behavior? As you have studied till now, you can say that this is heavily worded. That means you are considering individual uniquely. All individuals are unique. There are multiplicity of roles. You should have a conducive environment. You should have flexible job design and all these things. This is overworded and underworked concept practically. This is descriptive, not prescriptive. And they will tell you what it is, how it is. It will be difficult to tell you what should be. So it is a more of descriptive nature and less of prescriptive nature. It is not a supplement of mismanagement. You say that your manager is not efficient, he has got some rigid kind of framework, he is autocratic. Then you cannot say that it is a supplement. Matlab, OB will help you overcome this the dysfunctional aspect of mismanagement. That will not help. Now, overemphasis may bring negative impact. Yes, if you go on controlling individual, like this is very simple saying that if you go on controlling everything, you end up controlling nothing. Not an absolute response to problems, management bias, because it is very subjective. It is not an exact science. It is an art. It is an art. Emphasis on practice, emphasis on principles, not practice. Obviously, when we talk about a study, the emphasis on principles, like this is this, Taylor says this, Peole says this, Bernard said this, Maslow said this. But what practice, man? How do you deal with situations in the current era, etc.? So there are certain problems, but nevertheless there are problems, but still OB is a great help to the organization in understanding people's behavior. So it also depends. It actually the ball goes into the court of the management or the manager, OB manager, how he uses these theories and these study in order to influence the behavior of his subordinates. So it is a very important discipline. We cannot just rule it out by saying that it has got these many problems. Okay, now come to the models of organizational behavior. This is very very interesting. You will love it. See, organizational behavior models, matlab, how do you treat, particularly how you treat an individual. These are the models of organizational behavior, nothing else. So, organizational behavior models help us to understand human behavior. Why a man behave the man he behaves. Okay. Why the man behave the way he behaves. Okay. Fred Lutyens, you remember Fred Lutyens? Did we do study about Fred Lutyens before? Yes, Fred Lutyens told us the definition of organizational behavior, that is, organizational behavior is a managerial task of understanding, predicting, and managing individual behavior in organization. Okay, Fred Lutyens also said that he gave us three framework to understand individual human behavior. Cognitive framework, that means a terrorist is born. That means he has inborn things, his own personality, his attitude, his views are responsible for the way he behaves. Behavioristic framework says that his interpersonal relationship, how is he behaved with, that means a terrorist is the result of unjust behavior of society, of anybody around him. That is unjust behavior with him. That means it deals with interpersonal relations. Now, social cognitive, it says that any behavior of individual, it is actually the result of his surroundings, the conditions that prevail in his surroundings. So when we talk about the same example, terrorist one, then the terrorist result from his situations, the conditions that he is exposed to. So this is like people imitate things. If you see a person being a drug addict in front of you, then you will also try drugs. And as we have seen in Punjab case also, even young children try drugs there, because their social condition is such that they think, they see people doing the same thing and they imitate it. So social cognitive framework is also important in understanding the behavior. So these three frameworks are important in understanding one's behavior. That is his individual perceptions, prejudices, his knowledge, understanding, etc. Behavior, interpersonal relations between individuals. Then social, that means social conditions, environment, social norms, behavior, etc. Okay, this was by Fred Luthens. Classical, same are classical, Taylor, Fayol, whatever they said. They said that man is a rational economic man. That's it. Theory X. Okay. Neoclassical, they says that no, man is very sensitive. He is a theory Y person. That means he is very sensitive. He is very responsible. He takes up work. So what he needs, let us see. Social man model. Like social man, Mayo says that social need is a prime need in a man. That means man's behavior is very much affected by the social surroundings, by his social groupings, by the social norms, as being enumerated by the Hawthorne experiment of Mayo. Okay. Simple, we'll study in detail about Mayo, Bernard, etc. Now, organization man, that means a man actually is a isolated being. So he wants to be socialized. He wants to get into an organization, and organization fulfills that particular need of organization. So man is an organization man. Then actualizing man, like a man has a actualizing need. What is self-actualization need? It is a higher order need. It is a need to achieve it is a need to achieve something above social and economic framework. That means to fulfill one's own existence in the society, one's own view of his existence in the society, etc. That means you are achieving you're satisfying your own self, your own aspirations of being a higher individual or higher mortal. So, like Maslow's need hierarchy theory, there is a self-actualizing need. Herzberg two-factor theory. Elderford, there is a growth need, is similar to self-actualizing need. Okay, we'll study about all these things. No, not to worry. This is just an introductory session. Now, complex man model, that means a contingency approach. That means a man is very complex to understand actually. Different people of same personality may behave differently in different situations. People have different personalities as well. So it is very, very, very difficult to predict a particular person's behavior. Particularly, there are various factors that may affect. Although we cannot 100% surely predict the behavior, but there are many various things like environment, education, and on the basis of environment, education, and experience, a person frames his cognitive skills, and on the basis of which he decides something. And so there may be some reasons to us, like cognitive framework, behavioral framework, and social cognitive framework, on the basis of which we can determine. But he is very complex, and complex is also because of the contingency approach, like environmental changes and situational changes, etc. Okay, very simple. Now next is SOBC. This is very interesting and this is very important. In fact, SOBC, it is simply making sense out of human behavior in organization. This is given by Kurt Lewin, and it is about making sense out of human behavior in organization. He says that behavior, it is actually a function of a individual's personality and environment. Very simple. His personality and environment. He says that behavior is a function of, in very simple terms, he has simplified the human behavior. And then what this SOBC stands for: S stands for stimulus, O stands for organism, B stands for behavior, and C stands for consequences. Let me very quickly tell you. Let's understand this with an example of demonetization of 500 and 1000 rupee note. What is stimulus? Stimulus is any change in the environment that trigger human perception, human action, perception, response, etc. So this demonetization of 500 and 1000 rupee note, it is actually a stimulus in the environment. So when this stimulus comes, then what happens? First of all, organism. It depends on the organism. देखो दी actual objective of SOBC is what? To determine, to understand the human behavior. That means making sense out of human behavior. So stimulus is what? Stimulus is the demonetization of 500 and 1000 rupee note. Then organism. Then we think about people, like the honest person and the corrupt person will act differently, will react differently, because they have different interest. And even an honest person, another honest person will act differently. For example, an honest person who is knowledgeable, who can understand the implications on the economy, or etc., and who is ready to bear some kind of difficulties or some kind of inconvenience and for a future good, so he will welcome this step. And another individual who is honest but who is not able to see the future aspects, or who is very cynical about the impact of such a move, then he will be disgusted with such an step. So in organization, how his personality is, what are his thoughts, his knowledge, his experiences, his own experiences, etc. Now behavior means how we respond, like for example, if there is a chaos, if there is chaos, people are openly criticizing this move, this is a behavioral response. Or people are calm, they are patient, and they are doing what is being told by the government, like they are going to the banks, they are getting their notes exchanged, etc. So this is also another kind of behavioral response. Now what will be the consequence if the people are complaining, they are criticizing it, and there is a lot of chaos, anarchy, etc., then this will actually fail the movement. It will fail the particular goal for which this particular move has been taken. So it will determine the behavior here will determine the consequences or impact on the economy, ultimately. Like if the people are patient, they are ready to bear the initial brunt or initial problems, they are ready to face those, and they lay faith in the system, in the government system, etc., then the consequences expected can be better. Or even the behavioral response, like people, they are converting their black money to some illegal means, they're converting their black money into white money by sending money to their relatives, etc., and if these are unchecked by the income tax authorities, etc., if that kind of behavior is there, then the consequences can be different. That means this may prove to be futile, it will be of no use. So you can see that by this approach, actually we took it a macro approach, but this is a micro thing. Just to understand, I took that current example, otherwise it is a micro model to understand the behavior of an individual, like the stimulus, then how the individual is, then how he will behave, and then finally what impact will it have. So how are we concerned? I told you, OB is what? OB is why do people behave in the manner they behave, and secondly, how we can change it. So we got the answer of the first question, but what about the second question? Second question is how can we change it? How can we change the behavior? What do we want to change? We want to change the consequences and the behavior, because consequences and behavior have if then relationship. If this occurs, then this happens. So we can change the stimulus. Like for example, you want to bring about a big change in the organization, then instead of going for the procedural method, or instead of going for the formal proclamation of particular change, you can also influence or convince the group leaders. If there are certain strong groups or trade unions, then you can convince the group leaders or union presidents, etc., and let them convey the particular information to the workers or the low level managers, so that it increases the acceptability. So the stimulus can be changed, so that it becomes more and more acceptable. Organism, like we can also improve the individual by providing him training, by giving him knowledge. For example, if you're converting from manual to computerized, then you can give them training, you can give them orientation, you can tell them that it is going to ease their efforts, etc., etc. So this way you can change the behavior like that. Okay, this is very simple. You can just go through this. What is the significance? By this you can simply tell how OB helps in understanding why the people behave the manner they behave, and then changing it. How will it help the organization? Simple thing, how to motivate them. You will be able to motivate them better, which will lead to happy workforce, satisfied workforce, better relationship, and that's it. You can simply go through this. OB is interdisciplinary. We went through this concept earlier, in brief. Now we'll do it in detail. OB is interdisciplinary. We also know multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary. It is simple that it is a young discipline. It is under development. It is like evolving. So OB has a human element, and there are various studies or where insights into human behavior by various thinkers belonging to different disciplines. So we take inputs from various disciplines. Like from sociology, what we take let's start with psychology, because psychology deals with individual, na? So it will go in that manner: individual, group, organization. Like, okay, psychology, individual, like psychology tells about motivation, personality, emotion, perception, leadership, etc. Okay, now sociology tells us about the group dynamics, work teams, communication, power, conflict management. That means understanding, predicting, and controlling individual and group both. Social psychology, it is change in people behavior and attitude according to social norms, conditions, etc. Like for example, like we did social cognitive, etc. Like for example, if there is a bonus scheme being started in one particular department, then you should start it in all departments, because there can be a strike in the organization on the sympathy basis as well. So you have to treat all individuals equally. And this is like there is kind of thinking in the organization कि इसको नहीं मिला तब कोई किसी को भी नहीं मिला तो ठीक है, लेकिन एक को मिल गया तो everybody should get it. On the principle of equality, anything like that, you need to understand the social norms and conditions prevalent in your organization and accordingly behave. So this will be told by social psychology. Political science, simply about power and politics. Who is really who, why is really why, simple. Anthropology is very important. It deals with culture particularly. Like people have different behavioral patterns also because of their biological, their social and cultural roots. Like people belonging to different nationalities have different kind of behavior. For example, Japanese are more social people. In Americans are more individualistic people. So when you have in your workforce Japanese, Indians, and Americans, they also determine the way you input, way you introduce any stimulus, or way you create your culture, etc. Because they're different. They individuals do not walk alone. He walks along with his whole personality, his whole knowledge, his whole background, and everything. So you have to take into consideration this. So anthropology will help us in that context. Now, challenges before OB today, these are very important. In fact, I must tell you, OB deals with human beings, human element, which is a very complex one. So nowadays, why it is more complex? So this is like though nowadays we have a diversified workforce where like workers come from different backgrounds, different geographical regions, different cultures. So altogether you have a diversified workforce. Also, you cannot apply one fit for all thing in the organization. You cannot have one fit for all culture in the organization. You need to consider the different background of different individuals in order to frame any policy or in order to influence the behavior of different people. New technology means because of the influx of the information technology, now we have more home based workers. So we are not in personal or physical touch with the individuals or the employees or subordinates. So it is very difficult to understand the behavior of the people who are far off from you, who are far from your sight and your supervision. So this also makes OB a little complex nowadays. Is Then computerized supervision is also being very much criticized in America these days, but these are very essential in order to have a surveillance. Now, knowledge workers, like we have a change from blue collared employees to white collared employees. Because of this change, because of more knowledge workers, their needs have changed. Now they are aiming for higher order needs, for growth needs, etc. So the man is no more a rational economic man. So just economic rewards cannot motivate him, cannot satisfy him. So this makes the process little complex. There is, the need hierarchy has also changed. They have different priorities, different preferences. So OB management for applying the motivational technique and leadership technique, it becomes little difficult because of this change. You need to change from autocratic to participative management, etc. These complexities are there because of more knowledge workers. Volatile environment, we all know that the environment is so volatile that you must be counting your 1,000 rupee notes, being very happy having 1 lakh rupee, and just in a couple of seconds you come to know that these values these notes are of no value anymore. So this is environment is very volatile, man. माया माया है, एंड माया की कोई गारंटी नहीं है. लाइक गीता का ज्ञान करवा देता है हमारे आज का एनवायरनमेंट. सो एनवायरनमेंट इज़ वेरी वॉलेटाइल. यू हैव टू विल डील विद दिस इन OT, लाइक हाउ टू डील विद द एनवायरनमेंट, हाउ टू insulate yourself from the environment and all those things. So environment is volatile. How it affects OB? Like we said that OB process is an open system, so it is impacted by the environment because environment provides a stimuli to the response of individual behavior, etc. So this volatile environment, environment is not only fast changing, it is also difficult to predict. It is very complex today, it is very complicated today. So in order to influence, to determine the behavior, to predict the behavior also becomes equally difficult, complex, etc. Temporaries, now we actually focus on more outsourcing, more contract workers, and so there are more temporary workforce in the organization. So if you work for a long time with a particular individual, you learn, you come to know about more, you come to know more about the person, and hence UPC becomes very convenient or little easy. But when you have temporary workforce that works for a very short period of time, then to motivate them, to influence them, to lead them becomes really difficult for OB manager. So these are the challenges before OB today. Okay, this is the what we have done today. We have actually studied what organization is, what is organizational behavior, what is the process of organizational behavior, what is individual aspect in organization, what are different disciplines from which organizational behavior has taken the contributions, then advantages, then limitations, and then what are the difficulties in today's era, etc. I hope you like the lecture. Thank you.